Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it.
Hello, Heresy friends. Join Andy and I as we have a hobby/heresy chat with the Great Northern Heresy. It's a couple of gentlemen down east. We are joined with Josh, Mike, Ollie, and Adam. And for the next hour, we're going to be chatting heresy, what they've got going on in their local community, things they've been doing for events in the last year. Stay tuned.
It's a pretty big crew. I think we struggle to get like 2 people on with video,
really?
So it's nice to have whole crew on there, right? It's pretty cool. So.
Totally. Well, Bill and Andy, thank you first off for having us. It was a delight to hear your when we got your invitation via Instagram. So first off, thank you. Always good to talk heresy.
Oh, not a problem. It's all about sharing that heresy love, right? So
it really is. And, the past year has been really good for that. So, something that I didn't expect, like when I got into it, that it would be a third, mainstay on that Games Workshop website, right? You got your Age of Sigmar, you got your 40K. You have Heresy now. It's not Fringe anymore, right?
Yep.
No, it's true. I think being off the main site, not a mainstream game, obviously very niche and usually strictly Forge World accessible, made it one of those kind of back alley speakeasy games that you saw maybe every once in a while online, or maybe some people playing, but definitely not as widespread as it is now.
Yeah, the gentleman's 40K, as they used to call it.
Yeah, it's definitely nice that we are more mainstream. There's good and bad things associated with it. Like, it's nice that we got more people in, but on the other hand, we also have more people coming in.
Yeah, and like there, Bill, I saw you about to talk. But why don't you keep on going as host, anyways? Of course.
I was just going to say, usually we usually kick off with a little bit of hobby action. So
sure,
if you want to do a kind of a round table on the hobby aspect of what you guys have going on, or what you've had going on lately.
Yeah, definitely.
If anyone wants to kick off.
Progress, project stuff.
Yeah.
Like personal or group?
Either or.
Yeah.
Well, on a group note, it's 2 weeks after our last event on February 25th. In Kitchener, Ontario. So we had that at one of our local haunts, Phoenix Games and Hobbies, owned by Bill Kocher. So just to give him a shout out. But that as a group, so we're kind of in the post-event kind of time where, let a week or two kind of cool off, new goals, and kind of just starting to plan for next events. That's us as a group. Me personally, Andy, like you were saying, just working on getting some organization on my hobby desk. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of in between White Scars and Iron Warriors, so they're kind of vying for my attention. That's me.
Nice.
Awesome.
Good choices. White Scars, Iron Warriors.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Bill's Iron Warriors, I'm White Scars as well. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as you can see here.
So I picked up from the Iron Without part. One of your other videos for sure. There's some Iron Warriors love there. Well, I'm Imperial Fist player, so naturally we are just enemies now. So,
Well, there's a little thing about that.
Yeah.
Bill has a Imperial Fist army.
I do.
So we're actually best pals then. Great.
That's right.
That's the best.
Yeah, I play World Eaters and Imperial Fists, so I can go between Traitor, Loyalist, And right now, I'm a bit scatterbrained with a lot of projects. Like, I've been working on Battlefleet Gothic stuff, actually, just lately.
That's cool.
Trying to weasel some people into the game just lately, too. I also just finished painting a small Titanicus force. I guess I'm trying to figure out what to... Just terrain projects, that kind of stuff as well. I'm working on some Titanicus-sized buildings. That's pretty much where I'm at for hobby projects, yeah.
What Legio you end up going with?
Gryphonicus.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because it's in the main rulebook. I'm going with this. I like the colors. It's solid.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. I've been working on since I think the Calf box came out. That's when I got into Heresy. Been working on my Word Bearers army, so I have I think I'm up to about 16,000 points. Painted and unpainted. Mostly painted. Probably about 100 bear infantry. But I've been bouncing between that and some Solar Auxilia. I'm trying to get started. Started off Traitor, and then I kind of figured I might want to play them as a Loyalist force, especially for events, to just kind of face off against different opponents, because, after 4 or 5 years of playing the same people, you kind of want to see what it's like on the other side. So I have probably about 800 points of Solar Aux going right now. It's kind of a slog to paint the infantry. Much different from painting Space Marines, that's for sure. So, yeah, working on 2 forces at once is always fun. One is a palette cleanser for the other. So, yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, a lot more bodies to paint with Solar Aux, eh?
Yeah.
Pretty good. I guess myself. Thousand Suns continues.
Ooh,
fancy.
Yeah. Just assembled Magnus actually, and then got him all cleaned up.
Nice.
So I'll be getting some paint on him, hopefully this month, and then just kind of finishing up the other little projects I had. Last can heavy support team kind of thing. Just throwing some more colors on them and getting to that point of the AK wash I usually do on my stuff. So, and then trying to figure out what else I'm going to put in the army. It's been Thousand Suns have been a little bit of a struggle. So psychic powers are interesting. They tend to bite you in the ass more than they help you, but
because of that psychic check, Andy.
It's fun. It's fun to play though.
Yeah.
Like it just when they go off and they work.
Changes, I think, across the editions, psychic is just totally a different animal now.
Yeah,
and I think they've done a good job making it just in addition to that phase instead of its own phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more interesting to use. I know personally, I think not at the last event, but the event before that, for shits and giggles, I ended up using Biomancy Librarian, and it was, rather than being just like, oh crud, I always have to remember this, it was actually a little bit more intuitive, I found, to use.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of timing with the powers.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Especially when you're like Thousand Suns, like every character is a caster, and then you also have your sergeants. So it's kind of, you really got to time things, right? And if you miss that, real crap. So,
I think
but other than that,
sorry, I was going to say, just to echo Ollie, I like that it's not like a mini game within the game now, like how it used to be in first edition with some of the more psychically attuned legions. It does feel very much like it's sped the game up, and it doesn't feel as clunky.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And not all the powers are like, end all be all, but there are some that are actually really good, and then others are kind of mediocre. So, but
Yeah.
It is what it is, right? So
Yeah. I think most of the psychic disciplines are actually that middle ground on the psychic powers. I think it is a lot bigger than it really has been in a long time. Like telepathy is just bonkers, but everything else seems to at least have its. A lot of the psychic powers all seem to have like some sort of use.
Yep, for sure.
Very nice, very nice.
But other than that, yeah, just some other projects, just bolt action stuff that I'm always working on as well. So
Nice.
then, of course, whatever other system I'm involved in. But yeah, Bill, yourself?
It's been a mixed bag on my end, hobby wise. I've been punching out a little bit of bolt action stuff, trying to get up everything built and ready for kind of like an ongoing slow grow. Andy's been hosting.
Yep.
And
Great.
that's been good. I haven't been able to make it out, unfortunately. I've been having just way too much shit on the go, but I'm working on models, so that's small win. Other than that, I've got a bunch of Templar Brethren to finish up for my fists, some apothecaries, and a few other units. I'm trying to get the army wrapped up now. So
Go ahead.
I listened to your last Heresy podcast, Bill, where shifting your focus from match to more of the narrative, and you touching base on that fourth company with the Templars and everything was very neat. So I wanted to interject with that.
Oh no, that's awesome. It's been fun to kind of I guess develop the headcanon for that army, and now that I'm trying to look at the army in a bigger scope, that's where I'm starting to take rhinos, heavy bolter rapiers, apothecaries and stuff, just to kind of round up the list, make it a little bit more just kind of fun. It can still, it still has teeth if I really want it to, but the whole shift for me is just been personally trying to increase player experience overall, not just for myself, but for opponents and even like attendees at events, which I think is going to start reflecting in just bigger events and more growth, which is obviously a good thing. So,
sure.
How many Templar Brethren do you generally like to run?
I basically only got the one squad. It's essentially just to kind of make Sigismund look good.
Awesome.
Kind of like a squad. I'm doing a custom version of him. I ended up picking up one of the Bayer's Revenge. It's like a Primaris Black Templar.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be going to change out the legs, and he's going to be actually stabbing through a Cataphractic Terminator
cool.
in Iron Warriors colors. So I think that'll make it look really cool.
That's awesome.
That'll be cool. So that's kind of, I guess, the big bonus or benefit of playing the grudge match legions on either side of the fence, is you can be your own best friend and maul each other's like armies and legions, and kind of set up little dead Iron Warrior bits on your fists and dead fists on your Iron Warriors, and kind of just really try to hone into that grudge match. So
nice.
Yeah. I know locally we have quite a few Iron Warrior players, and Bill being the first, and having absolutely like no Imperial Fist players at the time of first edition, and then now there was quite the influx of Imperial Fists. So
they are pretty popular, yeah.
It's good to see the grudge match, like Bill said. Like, it's when you see it on the board and you're like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah,
we have quite a few of both here, I think, in our area. Right? I think we have at least 4 people on both.
Nice.
It's definitely 3 Imperial Fist Ollie.
Yeah.
And Matt, Josh, and Paul.
Yeah, that's right.
Bill and Andy, we have had a very similar experience locally. Much more Iron Warriors. So I've actually shifted my focus based on our last event to my White Scars. And it's mainly because we had 6 traders, and 3 of them were Iron Warriors. So, and I was the ringer. And if I needed to play, I would have been the 4th Iron Warrior of 7 then.
Wow.
So, Yeah, it's just kind of how it happens, right? You can't control. You want events to fill up. We had someone who had signed up with Sons of Horus, but kind of saw that they couldn't get their stuff together in time, so they switched to their Iron Warriors. So there's just things like that. But yeah, so
Nice.
we can definitely relate. And
yeah, we kind of.
I guess too. I'm Andy. Sorry to cut you off. I'm kind of like you, Bill. I was the first Iron Warrior. At least I've been doing it the longest. So I just want to throw that in.
Yeah, claim that mantle, man. Take it.
Yeah. So that's right. Continue.
Speaking as a treadhead, all you Iron Warriors players just make me so sad.
Good.
Yeah, I felt surrounded by Iron Warriors players for like 5 years, basically, as an Imperial Fist player. So
Awesome.
I hear you. I know.
but I wouldn't have it any other way. Then you can
Nice.
shoot in any direction and not miss.
That's right. Yeah.
I know we kind of have the same kind of thing with just our mentality when it came to like armies, choosing armies and whatnot, even secondary armies. It was kind of, what doesn't our community have, right? And then that kind of spurred some choices of the armies. Like initially, I started with World Eaters way back when, and then switched over to Ultramarines, which was essentially my army, that really enjoyed. And it was only me. I was the only one who played Ultramarines in first edition.
Okay.
And then ended up starting up White Scars, and again, only me with White Scars in our community, right? So, and now going into second, a whole bunch of guys jumped on the Ultramarines. So I kind of parked the blue boys in the corner, and I've been playing them forever, right? So, and then it was Thousand Suns kind of was one of those choices like that too. It was just nobody played them after Magnus got like nerfed in first edition, right? Everybody just dropped him, right? And it's like, well, come on, so
he's still a Primarch.
So, and for me, it was more of like the aesthetic, what I can do with the army versions, try to keep that Egyptian looking theme to them that I'm doing right now, and throwing on some more headdresses, starting to show that they're kind of starting to turn, adding a little bit of the teal and the blue in their armor a little bit, and just go from there, right? So maybe slide a tentacle in somewhere. But it's been pretty fun. Second edition here, and then working on the army itself, and it's just been nothing but great comments from people, and even people chiming in on Instagram and stuff too. They just love everything that's been going on. So, and then
awesome.
And then events, it'll be fun to bust them out.
Yeah. Speaking of events, how many people did you have for your guys' last one?
So we had 14.
Okay.
But we can kind of laugh about this. The week or the week leading up to and the morning of, both of our Alpha Legion players backed out. So
they
disappeared. We don't know. Yeah, we don't.
They know something you didn't.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we had 12, and it was a good size for the store that we played.
Yeah,
we've done it with 16 at our first or second event after 2.0, and we made it work, but it was very tight.
Yeah. That's all right.
Essentially, that's where we started off, right?
Yeah.
So just in stores.
Just in stores, like way back. We started off as 8 of us, and been playing for a number of years, and then with the bust out of 2.0, it surged. I think for Slow Grow we had 24 people sign up for like our Slow Grow locally here, which is it's the biggest we've had, right? Which blew me away. Like, it was just crazy how many people. And then we're hosting Iron Without coming up here in mid-April, and that sold out at 32 players, which again is the biggest we've had. Like, it's just locally, it's been the best Heresy's ever been, which is awesome across the board. So
that's great to hear.
When you do your events, do you like how many games in a day will you do usually?
Usually 3. This one, Iron Without, is going to be 5 games over 2 days. So day 1 will be 3 games. Day 2 will be 2. I kind of like to keep it around 5. Like, I know if you really want to get into to find out who's like your best overall, if you're going with podium finishes, having 6 games is better. It gives like a bigger spread, but that makes for a really long Sunday. So usually you play 2 games, you can be done by maybe 4 o'clock, 4:30, and then everyone packs up, gets the fuck out. They can still spend the evening at home and chill with wife and kids or whatever the situation is at home. So
yeah, definitely. We've been kind of experimenting with optional 3,000 to 4,000 point games, and we've only done 2, but it was a little more popular in our first 2 events, and we noticed that no one really brought a 4K list at our last one. So we tried it out. We're going to adjust, but yeah, we were doing 2 games for a while. I think if we were to continue, it would be 4,000 points, 2 games, but now we're kind of switching to the 3.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of interesting because, like, pre-pandemic, like the 4K games were the big draw that we had to get a lot of people from out of town coming into our events, and yeah, it seems like with 2.0, no one really wants to play that extra 1,000 points to bring it up to 4K.
And you know what, Mike? I would actually say it purely came down to just having it optional. I think if we said, hey, let's do 4K, no one would object to that either.
Yeah. Although at 4K, I think some people are still coming to grips with their armies and how they work, especially at higher point levels when you can take Lords of War. I know that I haven't even considered how I'll use. I used to take 3 Avenger Strike Fighters in a suborbital strike wing. That's not legal anymore, so I can't take that. So I'd have to use. I have a Warhound, but I have no idea how that works in 2.0 tactically, with my army, right? How that meshes. I can barely, figure my head around a 3K game these days. So yeah,
that is a good point. Loader Wars are definitely different now.
No,
speaking as a Solar Ox player with a beautiful Bane blade that's just a paperweight now, effectively.
Yeah, just a point sink.
I know we've been kind of going into the 3K as of late. This last round of our slow grow for Heresy. So everybody's been building up to 3K, and then with the event coming up, so guys are still trying things out, still getting used to the 3K. Some guys are starting to bring their Primarchs. Some guys have already been playing with their Primarchs. Those, Dark Angel bastards. The Lion. He's on the board everywhere. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see. We haven't really played 4K games at all, I don't think. I know I haven't. Some of the other guys may have, but not very often. But be pretty interesting to see what happens in that. See the units that everybody's kind of taking and whatnot, and what they can deal with, and that's the one thing you notice, in the smaller point games, certain lists or certain units are way more effective at that smaller level compared to when you go to 3,000, and then all of a sudden now you got the toys to deal with, and tactically punch out these other units that could have been real big threats in smaller games. So see how it all progresses in the event. It'll be awesome to take a look and see the games and take pictures, all that
For
jazz.
sure.
What point sizes were you generally doing for your other events? Like if you're doing 5 games and stuff.
Most of the games are pretty much 3K. Before, like, we've had a doubles event which was 1,500 points per player, which wasn't bad either. And then we did a standard, pretty much like a Heresy day, and I think that was also at 1,500 points. So overall, like, the games were good. Throughout Slow Grow, we started at 750, did that for 2 months, get fully painted, bump up to 15, and then 2250, now 3K. I think the biggest thing with the 3K games is we're doing 3-hour time limits. And if you know your rules, it's a comfortable time to do it. If you're still a little shaky and you're kind of still learning some things and you're flipping through the book a bit, 3 hours can feel like not enough. 3.5 might be better. Again, though, you got to kind of set it up in a way where you're not going to be there for 13, 14 hours if you're taking a lunch break and stuff, right? So I think once everyone's real comfortable, I think 3 plus games will start to happen. I'm definitely interested. I know at the tail end of 1.0, I was really starting to fuck around with 3250 because it felt like it's a high enough point level where everybody can take whatever they want to take. You want to take your Perforian, hey, cool, man, I'll take a Warhound. If you want to take that, I'll take a big fat squad of Iron Circle. But everyone has the points to be able to take all their toys, and you don't have to feel like at 2,500 points, which was kind of the standard back in 1.0, you had to make some really hard decisions on what you wanted to take and what was going to be effective. And then at 3,250, it was like, oh, well, you can have your cake and eat it too. So it was kind of a neat way to play.
Yeah.
So, and
it's funny. Our 3K games, or with the option of 4K, we're just over 3 hours at like 3 hours and 15 minutes. So that's just how it worked with the scheduling. Yeah. But we had noticed that was maybe a little bit too much time this past event. Probably ideal for 4K, where if you know your rules and you're pretty competent, you can do pretty well, because really sometimes adding 1,000 points is like maybe 2 squads, right? Or not even. It depends on if it's a 750 pound or point Titan. But so
well, it could be
the points for the units as you're going up, like you start taking these juicier units. I've noticed like almost every unit in my army, besides tactical marines, they tend to be up close to like 300 points. Right.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then you step it up a notch to like, you start taking a Primarch. Well, okay, that's anywhere from 4 to 550 or more, depending on the Primarch.
Or if you're Horus, you can be 1,000 if you're
exactly right. Exactly.
Plus the squad retinue, that's like half your list.
Yeah, and that's back to the old Death Star days, right?
Yeah.
Where
we've had some fun experiences with the Death Star meta in our team.
Yeah,
but
same.
You know what? I still see it as being, especially with the Primarch, as being kind of fluffy still, right? Mm-hmm. You think these Primarchs aren't going to go to war with like a handpicked squad of their subordinates, right? So yeah, it was always tough, but like sometimes, especially when you had Death Star versus Death Star, it was, that's epic, right?
Get a nice little mosh pit going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Spartan versus Spartan, right?
Well, you have, and again, you have those key moments, those grudges, those facings, and you can throw Russ and Magnus against each other, kind of thing, and rehash that out, or stuff like that, right? Alfarius and Dorn, kind of thing, and that stuff, right? It's always fun to have those kind of matchups, and just the players' play style. And on top of that too, though, like, we do have a lot of players in the community that they're not hard players, like they don't go too crazy on their lists, they just start to take kind of units that they think, that they like, or they like building or using or playing or putting in the army. And they've had some real good matchups too, right? Regardless if there's a Primarch or not. So it's interesting to see the different style of games that the players are having in the community, and just kind of the results, right? Like, it kind of what units are effective, what units are such, and of course, what are people taking? What's more of the meta? What's happening, kind of thing, right? So, and I know, like, Bill, he plays his Imperial Fists fairly different than probably most other Imperial Fists, but I was at the receiving end of the Bulletstorm, which Bill can lead into.
Yeah, I don't have any breachers, and I despise the Phalanx Orders. So I run basically really run and gun. I've got 2 heavy support squads of Iliastus assault cannons that run around the board, and then a squadron of Punisher Sicarans with heavy bolter sponsons. And if I really feel like throwing away 80 points, I'll give them Iliastus assault cannon sponsons as well. And it's just a hail of shots, right? Just coming down the board, and it's fun. Like, it's 24-inch range on most of my guns. So it's kind of a pit bull list. If I get the midfield, things are going to go really well. And if we're playing long ways, it might be okay, but I'm usually going to get outranged. For a while there, we were dealing with, and I'm sure you guys had it too, like a lot of the heavy support, las cannon spam, and some Volkite Culverin spam. A lot of guys were pulling them all, right?
Yeah.
It's a big thing. My answer to that was 10 vets with Nemesis bolters, so I could hide behind buildings and capitalize on relentless move out and just stay outside. If we were playing long ways, I could stay outside of 48 inches and snipe out a las cannon squad and be like, cool, what are you going to do? And it's like, well, nothing, I'm fucked. It's like, sweet. Just shut that shit down. And at 3K, they're not as prevalent anymore, but there's other little things coming up, and it's been fun. I've also been kind of steering away from like an anti-dread meta. I was taking 2 squads of 3 Proteus double grab gun speeders early on, and that's basically my fuck dreads and vehicles. So like, you can pop probably 2 dreads a turn, and then whatever you can shoot with. So up to 3 dreads pretty confidently. And I knew dreads were going to be an issue, so I wanted to kind of make an anti-meta list where I don't want to deal with dreads. I only have 1 in my 3,000 point army, and if people want to take lots, they can. It's just I have tools for it. Against infantry armies, they're useless. They just float around, and I don't even bother shooting because strength tests and then standard armor saves. It's just, you're better off charging.
Pretty much pointless. Yeah.
The game that we had, or actually our last game we had, he didn't even shoot them. Mm-mm. He just hid him behind things and just kind of waited the storm out. Because my Thousand Suns, no, his speeders there,
Proteus speeders.
Because my Thousand Suns army is like all infantry, right?
Oh no, psychic dreadnought.
So yeah, psychic dread. I had a psychic dreadnought, but that thing actually blew up quite quickly. So
I was going to ask if the Thousand Suns had psychic dreads or vehicles. I
Siren.
swore they did.
The Siren did.
I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can take one of them as the Magus, and he gets the psychic power, but it's really expensive. It's 50 points. And then you could also give him a minor arcana, I think, for an extra 15 points. The arcana, I think, is definitely worth it because you end up gaining more movement, close that range. But then, of course, the psychic power being so much, I usually give him telepathy and just shuts down reactions when he's making a charge or whatever, right? So, or you could go the other route, and there's a couple different routes. There's like Biomancy to jack him up even more, or there's the other one that actually that's the minor. There's a minor arcana that increases his invulnerable save when he's within 12 inches. So there's a couple different things you can do, but I find the telepathy one probably the best, just because of the reaction, right? Prevent a unit from shooting at you when you're charging in. So
that's fantastic. Yeah.
But again, that dreadnought's close to 300 points. Is it worth it? Hard to say. All I know is 1,000 Suns have been taxed a lot. Like their units are really, really expensive. So usually I'm outnumbered, right? But
you know what, Andy? If that Dreadnought is 3,000 points in this edition, I would be way more willing to take it compared to that many points in last edition when it could die right away, right?
Yeah.
Now they don't. I think that's what is such a selling point now to Contemptors, is that you can't kill them right away. They've always been so cool, and now they kind of live up to what their lore matches. Sometimes at the annoyance, depending on quantity that you fight against, right?
Yeah, it's nice. It is nice to see them on the board more, because last time, like first edition, they just pop done. Right,
Very
just
classic
gone.
heresy looking unit. So it is good to see him there.
Yep. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, the Proteus
change.
Landspeeder has been a surprise hit for me. I have 4 in my World Eaters. I was doing the double grav thing too.
Yeah.
But the hilarious thing I discovered is they come with a bolt pistol and chainsword as well. And then the World Eaters can swap out the chainsword with the chain axe. And so on the charge, like 5 attacks a model with chain axes.
Yeah, they're
so they actually
toughness
make
5.
decent little,
The spoilers, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
little close combat units. I mean, they're not going to fight Terminators or anything, but
No.
Gotta make sure you're modeling one hanging off the rail with the chain axe ready to chop somebody's head off.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right?
Either that or just surfing it like Angron off on his
On his ship, yeah.
Spaceship.
On the
That'd be
Conqueror.
awesome. That would be awesome.
Do the grav guns still drop those drop the difficult terrain templates?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty nice. Small blast. But you can
Well, I
really
don't
make it
have
hairy
small
if
blast.
you're dropping it on a bunch of vehicles, scattering across their line. You can do a lot of inconvenient things for them.
Yeah, that
So-
definitely makes them a lot more useful. Like, there's something to remember when you're using those for sure. I've definitely forgotten more than a few times. So
Yeah. Cut
Yeah,
out,
very effective.
cut out some little bases so you can drop them on the tabletop and you don't have to worry about leaving your templates. And makes it
that's the
nice.
thing. Having enough templates to match it, the size.
Yeah.
When I played at Mini Wargaming last time in January, we just put dice down and like measured because there was just so many templates everywhere. But yeah.
That's awesome. One thing I wanted to ask, and it's what caught my eye and what made me want to initially kind of get in touch with you guys was the food bank donation thing that I saw on the Instagram. Whose idea was that to like incorporate that into the event?
I can't remember specifically who, but we had seen it before at other events back in my 40K days with the Michael Mudd tournament
Okay.
in Stratford, where they, donated to their local SPCA. So we had kind of thought about that too. We had a real fun time with it because we incorporated the donations with a weekender event that we had kind of a greater planning towards, where you got tokens that you could pay for like bombardments and things to happen randomly to battles throughout that weekend. So that really generated a push because you donate a can, you get a ticket, right? So it kind of worked like that. It's definitely something that I've thought about continuing for our next events, just because us getting New Heresy 2.0 is really us getting back into doing events post-COVID as a group. Like, it kind of worked out almost the exact same because a lot of restrictions in Ontario at least lifted in like April. So then, 2.0 coming out in June, we had our first event within a month at Phoenix again. So even just to answer your question, Bill, about the donations, it was fun, it was easy, it was always appreciated, right? Because when it's a surprise like that, it's always a plus, right?
Yeah. No, I thought that was really cool. I don't see much of that going on at different events, and it's something that caught my eye, and I was definitely impressed with seeing that. It's obviously giving back to the community is always good, and if you can incorporate it when you're actually having events, it's even better. That's just it's great to hear. It's great to hear for sure. I guess over COVID, did you guys keep in touch quite a bit, like with Discord paint parties or anything like that?
Yeah, you know what? You nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
We're still doing our every Thursday night we aim, doesn't always happen, but we aim to have our group chat, and we've been doing that every week since like April 2020.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
Yeah,
we
been good.
Consistently have something to talk about. Like we would, at least when 1.0 was around, we would talk about, each week we would have a different legion to focus on, kind of the special things they had going for them. And then like some of the generic units we talked about, some of the new reveals. Then we ran out of material for that. So now we're kind of just on the talk about whatever is on our mind kind of schedule for those weekly chats now.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Always works good.
A lot of hobbying done.
Yeah, well, that's just it. If you're always making progress, it's win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know we try to host a paint night on Sunday nights for local community here as well. So sometimes hit or miss, sometimes I get one or two guys, but you spend an hour or so, a little bit, and get some stuff done. And sometimes we've had 10 people in there, and it's been pretty good. And other times just a couple people, but sometimes, it just happens or whatever, right? It's either way, it's good. You get stuff done. So it's good to hear you guys are doing that too. And helps. It helps. It really does help. Like sitting down for an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get stuff painted.
Yeah. And I've even, I don't put as much time into that hobby time, but same kind of mindset. If I got 5 minutes that I can clean a bit of models, I'm still 5 minutes ahead, right? Keeping that momentum going. So, yeah. And that's kind of what we're, even for kind of events, and because the nice thing about events is that you got a date, and you can set a goal, and you can push yourselves, and you can be super ambitious, or paint an army. I've tried that, and it kind of worked. Or you can paint one unit, right? Or nothing. Yeah. So we would love to kind of keep going with that. The big thing too is that it's been 3 years since we were really in 2019 we were really getting going. We sat down in like fall and winter of that year and planned 2020, and it was like 4 Titanicus events. It was like 6 Heresy events, another Weekender, and we had our last 4K event on February 29th, and then it was like 2 weeks later, right? So we're excited because, like, honestly, it's such a grateful thing to have the Heresy 2.0 come out kind of like as we could get going, because now we can just hit the ground running, right?
Yeah. It's funny you mention, all the big plans and stuff for 2020. I know I even talked with Andy. 2020 is going to be the best fucking year ever, man. And then 2020 came and it was just womp womp, just fucking flatlined. And I was like, oh shit, man. Like,
yeah, 2020 was not good.
Totally fucking derailed. We had.
I bought into Titanicus 2 weeks before the lockdowns all came in.
Oh fuck yeah. It's it was tough. I know we had to cancel an event. It was ready to go. It was the Redux. It was like a relaunch of it, and it just too many restrictions, shut down. There was a lot of just uncertainty. Some of the places were like, yeah, we got to do deposit, and we don't know if we can give it all back. And I was like, oh god, this is getting too crazy. So pull the pin on that and just let sleeping dogs lie for a while, because it wasn't good. But we got a ton of hobby shit done. We're doing monthly challenges and just kind of bouncing around all the different local Facebook groups. We were all over the place. It was crazy.
That was probably one of our best years for getting projects done.
Oh yeah.
Like personal projects kind of thing, right? And it was just every month you had something, right? It's like, wow. And then the next year was like, oh, I only got 2 things done.
Yeah.
I've been sloughing it. I've been playing games. I've been rolling dice. Like.
That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, for in terms of deadlines and having goals, I think everybody likes to give themselves that event deadline. Like, is it really an event if you're not painting up until the day before? Especially when you're prepping and whatnot. And my Imperial Fist army was an army like that. It was built and painted in 3.5 weeks to a tabletop standard, but I was able to fly out to Victoria and play with Boys of the Golden Throne. They had a big event at Kippers. It was a lot of fun. And then I came back and ended up doing extra detail work for about 3 weeks leading up to LVO, which was pretty much repaint the army and cut in all the black, add all the details and shit. And it was a big push. I was probably on the verge of divorce and didn't know it, because the wife was pissed, right? You're painting every day for like 3-4 hours just trying to get it done. And she was just like, really? And I'm like, I'm sorry, babe.
Slides the tray with the meal under the door kind of thing. I still leave me alone. I'm busy.
I was still able to get her to paint the black rims on my bases the night before LVO. I was like, come on, you got to help me. I was like, I'm almost done. And she's like, my back hurts after like 5. And I was like, I've been painting for 5 hours. I was like, just keep going. It's okay. Your back will go numb after a bit. So it's just,
the crazy thing about that too is like Bill's painting style for his Imperial Fist compared to what he had previously done with his Iron Warriors is like a completely different kind of paint job.
Yeah.
Right. Different techniques, chipping, all that kind of stuff. Right.
Nice.
So, and there was some experimenting for sure, because I know he would send me some pictures and check this out. This is what this does. This is what a sponge does. Like just different stuff like that. Right. But it's really good to see, and I've seen Bill's painting like progress over the years that I've known him, kind of thing. But even just in the community too, you see the guys starting and trying out these different techniques and whatnot as well. Plus using all the different product that's out there now, that you can get, plus the YouTube videos. So, but to see his army go from literally pieces on his table to almost completed, painted. And then by the time LVO was done, it was done. It kind of was just mind blowing. Like, you're crazy.
That's awesome.
I just told him he's insane for doing it in that short period of time. But
it's pretty rough. Yeah.
It was to the pin, man. Like late nights every night.
But everybody loved it. So
pays off then. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially when
people
you're
are afraid to
paint
paint yellow.
Well, yellow can be tough. I actually to get the final yellow, I went purple, pink, white ink from like a Zenithal highlight, and then I airbrushed Imperial Fist contrast, and it was it covered it in such a way that All the shadowing was done because of having the pink and purple undertones. It makes it like a light tan to almost like a darker brown, which you can get some really cool variation in the model. A little bit of sponge chipping and whatnot. And then I started playing around with black, using like a coal black and a AK color. What the hell is this? Pastel green, and mixing it into my coal black and really trying to like push the blue factor. Just kind of give it some really cool contrast, but it, it's always fun to experiment, especially with the different contrasts and paints and everything else. It was my first time actually spraying an army like that, and I was pretty impressed with it overall.
Nice.
It really is interesting, all the cool new tools and stuff that we have nowadays, especially compared to like when I started, probably close to 15 years ago at this point. Just like washes were this mystical thing that they only talked about in White Dwarves. And now we've got like contrast, speed paints, all this other fun stuff.
Tutorials in general on YouTube and stuff.
Well, just the internet, right? Just all the different stuff on there. It's not like the old White Dwarf days where you got 6 pictures, and picture 5 you're like, I can do that, and picture 6 you're like, what the fuck happened, man? Like, looks like a goddamn piece of artwork.
I still love flipping back to some of the, like, I have the 4th edition rule book, and it's like shows you how to make craters and like bunkers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like even GW was doing it like the old school way, you know.
Yeah. And it always looks good.
They still look great. Like I still enjoy that classic look. So
Still can't beat that shit. Still can't beat that.
Exactly.
Can't go wrong with Goblin Green.
Blue and proper, like that yellow, blue, red, ultramarine look.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh god, the red. Yeah.
Utilize yeah.
Red bolters, yellow trim. Yeah.
The 90s were a wild time.
Very bright army, for sure.
What do you I want to just ask a couple general questions for you guys. What do you think is your favorite change for 2.0?
Reactions. It makes it so strategic. Like we always love, when you get to fire, return fire in an Overwatch, and it actually kind of messes you up a little bit. You're like, is this my turn?
Yeah.
Right? Just because it's just such a change. Like they couldn't go a complete changeover where, they go like Titanicus or New Apocalypse, where it's like that unit activation, but to change something up that really keeps your opponent on your toes, because it's like, oh gosh, I have to keep this in mind and see how they're going to react in my turn, right? Like, I think that's been the best change. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Ollie, what do you think?
It's definitely a big one. I would say I've always been more of a kind of little fluff guy. So for me, it's the addition of, the Legion specific reaction, the Legion specific warlord traits, and the Legion specific war gear all in one nice, concise package for every, Legion is really, really cool. It allows you to customize our army so much more. Wordbearers, we had tainted weapons already, which were kind of like this little neat thing in 1.0, but now, we have all these, warp fire pistols and like all these cool upgrades, that I know no other Legion has, and it just makes it that much more fun to play. And you can, make some really funky units that, other players don't have and don't expect. So it kind of, it's fun to play against, and it's, really fun to model as well. And it's just cool from like a fluff perspective. So for me, that's the big one, is those Legion specific things.
That's awesome. I do like it. It feels like the Legions play more true to their fluff now. in
Mhm.
2.0 as well, which is nice.
Yeah, good points for sure.
So, how about yourself, Mike? What do you think's your favorite change?
I think for me, my favorite thing so far has been the change to Deep Strike. I was very reserved reading the rules at first, just with the augury scanner rules, and how I sort of assumed that deep striking would just be suicide because you deep strike down and then the whole army would just blow you away for free, but yeah, it's been very interesting. So I've been running like all Terminator Ultramarine force in all of 2.0, and as sort of just like an afterthought, I was including just like a unit a unit of Cataphracti with a Warmonger, just to sort of just like pop down and cause some chaos. And it's probably been one of my favorite units in the army over 2.0, just sort of just like going in and being able to just like smash the backline.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen that used to good effect, even against my world eaters, like by Imperial Fists, actually, too. So yeah, that's a good one for sure. I would definitely agree with Adam on reactions. I have a couple like nitpick things, but you can, in terms of favorite stuff to be different as well. One thing is they've made a lot of the troop choices a lot less expensive, really encouraging that kind of mass army sort of feel, which I appreciate, and that's very Heresy kind of feeling to it. So I find like I made a list with world leaders at our last event where I had 6 troop choices. I'm like, I'm maxing out troops just to like get all the scoring, and I still had tons of points available to take other stuff like that's more your toys, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the troops, and they have those extra rules for them now, like the Heart of the Legion, the Spite of the Legion for the despoilers and stuff. There's just those extra little things which, if you remember, like to use them, because I forget as well. Lots of rules, but it just gives you that extra push to like take those troops and really use them. So,
Oh, absolutely. I can agree.
What about
with
you
that.
guys?
Yeah, what about you guys?
I would say my favorite change was from my 1.0 wish list, which was making dreadnoughts pretty much like monstrous creatures now. I think the shift to wounds and toughness is just amazing. They do feel very appropriate to the fluff now. Charging in, you are going to do a lot of damage. There's very specific tools you can take to work against them, but that Brutal 3 is just amazing. When you can run into a squad of Terminators and feel confident that you're going to do some damage, it's just like, oh, this is great. Like, I'll probably kill 3 of them. It's just, woo. Or before, I'd be pretty leery. So it's just, it's a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. You guys kind of nailed everything there in a sense, but I do have to say one of my favorite changes is all these miniatures going into plastic.
Oh, good point, Andy. Totally.
I don't know how many times I've griped to Bill about just switch over to plastic already. Yes, I know we have an influx of tanks that have been released, but when those first MK6 Marines dropped and everybody's jaws just dropped to the ground, right? Seeing these new Marines, seeing all these conversions, seeing all the Praetors being converted up to whatever you wanted, because that's pretty much what happened over the internet. And then seeing that this is all in plastic Spartans, Sakarans, all that stuff. And then, of course, hearing tidbits of everything's going to plastic, like generic units kind of thing. Definitely a big blessing for that. And knowing GW, they obviously tend to pump it out a fair bit, right? So, going into the future for Heresy as they're expanding their range, hoping that they'll have some more Marines coming out Salt Marines, despoilers, all that stuff, and maybe different marks. I would love to see, even though like the MK3 armor is still pretty nice, the kit's still pretty decent, and the MK4, but they are very much an old style sprue. From 7th edition, I think it was maybe start of 8th edition when they came out with like the new tactical Marines for 40k. Beautiful kit, nice little poses, different styles to the Marines. But essentially you still have that kind of, crouch down a little bit with your bolter kind of stance. I'd like to see them almost redo those kits in the same kind of style they did the MK6 and then brought their sizes up to match in a sense, right? But we have them, so be thankful for that. And then of course other units coming out, hopefully they would start to bring them out and see them on the board. Like, I'd love to have a Salt Marine. So
yeah.
I've heard rumor of they're going to be redoing the MK3-4. And there's also rumor about like an MK2 set coming, which I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. If they did drop MK2, I'd be pretty stoked.
Wait until those pixelated white dwarf photos with the German translation.
Yeah, exactly. You'll see it. I've been dabbling a little bit actually with the Tortuga Bay. I ordered MK2 with tabards for my Templar Sword Brethren, and
nice.
They look awesome, right? Like I like that true scale kind of feel. Like even the Primaris models, although not era appropriate, I love that scale of Marine. It just feels so much more imposing on the tabletop.
Been looking at Tortuga Bay lately.
Yeah.
I had the Ultramarines in the back of my head, and I was like, Cataphracti Terminator.
Yeah, true scale.
I want a true scale, those bad boys.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about that, but then also been kind of pulling them back a little bit because kind of want to see what GW is going to be coming out with here, right? So, but I got enough to work on right now as it is. So, but yeah, ultimately, really just for me, the new minis. Like you guys have mentioned, with all the different kind of rules and stuff that you like, reactions, the dreads, all that stuff. It's really fun. It's a fun addition. And the other thing that I'm really happy about is the influx of new players coming into the system. Now that it's more readily available as well for players to jump in. So, we were at a point, I think, where it was kind of, there's a bit of a stalemate with just this was your crew. These are the only people that are playing Heresy right now. And that was it. Like, there was nobody new coming in, kind of a little stale, So good to see that. And then of course, focusing, I think we're kind of turning the tide a little bit where, we played a lot of strong games, did a couple of like competitive events and stuff like that, and also threw in some smaller narrative events and this and that too. But now kind of grasping onto that narrative style events, I think will really grab hold of a lot of the players out there, and then just have a good time with it. Make your characters, play a campaign, that kind of thing, right? Community wise, it'll be good. I think there'll be a lot more good things to come for Heresy, for sure. Plastic Thunderhawk.
Oh,
You know what though? I gotta say, and these guys have heard it before. I like the weight of the resin vehicles. There's just some kind of heft to my Spartan that weighs like a brick compared to the Kratos, which is just as impressive looking, but it weighs nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I I think it performs better if it's made out of resin and it has some presence on the tabletop. But maybe that's just my sign's importance from my word bearer's way of thinking.
If it's not bending the table under the weight, it's not enough, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, and like I think it might make me old, but it like Ollie, was a common quipe when they were switching from pewter to plastic, and you're like, oh, I have that fully, pewter Sisters of Battle Army, or right where
here's my 75-pound case. Yeah,
totally right.
Watch as I put down my pewter dreadnought, and it explodes into 40 pieces.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I do like the old pewter stuff. It brings me back some fond memories, that's for sure.
Yeah, that nostalgia, right?
I try and make it a thing in every army I build. It has to have at least one pewter model.
I have no pewter in my army, but I'm a relatively new player, so I remember in a job lot I got like a metal Grey Knight Terminator, and man, that thing, it just felt so powerful just holding it. It was great.
Those were awesome. I love those models.
Yeah.
I still get to play with the hybrid miniatures in bolt action. You'll get, not only will you get plastic, but you'll get resin and pewter all at the same time.
Oh wow,
no way.
So assembly, not so fun. Carrying around my French army, you're carrying concrete because it's a pretty heavy case when you got to carry like 60 infantry that are all pewter. But yeah, it reminds me of the Imperial Guard days, So, but even still, like even my White Scars, all their jet bikes are all resin. So when I seen the new plastic ones come out, I was kind of not in a rage, but just kind of wishing I had started them about a year later.
And just cleaning them right, Andy. Oh, those jet bikes.
Yeah, I'll be getting a few just to throw in there and fill up the gaps. So
awesome.
But not looking forward to painting any more different designs on my jet bikes. But it's just each of my bikes has like a completely different design, so it's kind of
cool.
A lot of different work, but fun at the time. Towards the end, it was kind of okay. Enough's enough. So nice. Do you guys have any leagues starting up for community or anything like that? Any campaigns? Any Zone Mortalis happening?
We've talked about kind of 1-day campaigns. Kind of not as detailed as what you guys had mentioned for your upcoming one, for your upcoming event. But really, it's just maintaining consistent, every few month events. So I would say maybe as a group, we don't quite have that level of commitment when it comes to leagues or whatnot, but
okay.
It's always something to work towards, for sure.
For sure.
And even just hearing what you guys are doing, that's kind of what we wanted to ask you too once we got into it, is just, talk about heresy for us in Southern Ontario, and see what it is like for you guys out in Edmonton, right? Because it sounds like you have a pretty thriving group in your city, and I guess that area, right?
Yeah, it's definitely grown quite a bit just with 2.0 coming out, and I suspect we'll probably still get a couple more. There's always some people that kind of poured over and they want to check out some armies, and there's a few guys from 40K leagues that have jumped in as well, which is always nice. And just getting the different types of players coming in is really cool. There's some guys who just they want to jump from the more competitive 40K and kind of just more of a beer and pretzels atmosphere. Other guys are like, well, if you guys want to play hard, I'll play hard too. It'll be fun. So you can kind of get a mixed bag all over the place, which is great. It's nice because I think it makes the overall group diverse. And as long as you're using proper communication with your opponents on pickup games, and obviously if events are structured in a way that it's clear of what kind of an event you're going to, I don't think you'll ever have a bad game.
Agreed. It comes down to communication and being open and transparent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, it's good.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's good that our community here, and then also the guys in BC as well. They have a fairly fair-sized community as well, and it's the last, I guess, it'd be a couple of years finally everybody's kind of starting to come together finally, and we've went down to one of their events. Bill has gone to a couple now, and now they're coming over this side of the pond kind of thing, and just having that mix of players, right? And who knows, we can do that all together, just kind of eventually down the road, come down to different areas and play different events and just get the heresy on.
Yeah.
So
network some Canadian heresy.
Mm-hmm. Love to figure out the most portable army and take a trip over sometime.
Yeah.
Well, I think that even is like neat to even consider is, we've dabbled into the weekender events. That was kind of like the height of our events, and it was a hit. We loved it. We rented a camp hall for the weekend, and we had an overall theme, but the ability to do pickup games was there. But like, even just talking about what you guys are doing, like even just us connecting, who knows, in 6 months or a year, we build up this relationship, and we have a Trans-Canada event, right? Like a national event.
That'd be awesome.
So
that would be cool.
Have our own Heresy Valhalla thing going on.
Yeah. Because I think when it comes down to it too, and what we've been kind of like realizing is that people are willing to pay for a good experience, right?
Yeah.
And if that means and it doesn't come down to an event just, having a set price so that they can generate, prizes. Some people don't care about prizes. Some people want that experience, right? It's not about winning. It's about what they can get out of the day. And for a lot of people, it's like events are such a great thing because you dedicate, a Saturday to getting 2 or 3 solid games in. So it would be something that, if it costed, 75 or who knows what it would cost just to, rent a great space and just have a great atmosphere, I think people would be willing to put that money in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
100%.
Agreed. And I'm definitely open for trying to network and build a bridge for more heresy friends, get more people traveling and getting games in.
For sure, right? Like I'm not. I unfortunately, my wife's birthday is March 24th, and with Adepticon always being March 22nd to 26th,
Yeah.
I will never be able to go again because it used to be like mid-April, right? But they've clawed it back to March. So, but just like there's a bit of envy when you hear about there's significant heresy events at Adepticon, right?
Yeah.
So just to like see that is still a big thing. And LBO has Heresy. I'm pretty certain as well.
Yep.
Right. So you have these national bigger tournaments that have a draw. That would be fun if we were to even kind of bring to Canada too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We at the Great Northern Heresy, we also have really strong bonds with our Toronto group. They're Hogtown, 40K. More into 40K because they're just a big group, but a significant amount of people into 30K as well. And we've really built up a good relationship with them. They're a big attendees at our events and us at theirs. So, just like, we know them. We've connected with you guys. You guys know groups in BC. So there's already like, you can see the links. It's just kind of getting that out there, right?
Neighbors, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've structured it in such a way where Hogtown. So they usually hold every year they hold a big thing called the Hogtowner. So they rent out the Polish Legion Hall for 2 days. Well, for the weekend. They have a big 40K tournament there, but they started doing a little 30K section with 10 players, 5 tables.
Nice.
With a real 12 campaign. So they do that once a year, and then they do like a doubles, Heresy Lethal doubles event once or twice a year. And then we're in between that with the more regular kind of Saturday events. So that way, we maximize basically everybody in Southern Ontario to play as much Heresy as possible, which is nice. That we're able to kind of coordinate with them and draw from each other's player bases to get more people going to events. It's really nice.
Yeah, well, that's the best way to do it. It's definitely, you guys are on a solid track to really inspire growth, which is great. It's anytime you're growing is a good time. So,
agreed. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I definitely just like to kind of start wrapping up. I definitely appreciate the whole team jumping on and coming on for the episode. It's been good to put also a face to the name of the group, which is nice. I'm assuming I was chatting mostly with you, Adam, on Instagram. Yep. Okay. But it's been good to at least chat with you guys face to face and kind of get an idea of where you guys are at for Heresy, and I'm always up for more chats and getting ideas bounced back and forth for events and whatnot, if you guys are ever open to that. So,
and just because he wasn't here, we do have a fifth member of our group who has played a really big part in our group. His name's Matt, but he just couldn't make it tonight. So just want to name drop him as well.
Yeah,
and go from there.
Well, for sure. So, and you know what? I'm more than willing to jump on and get more more chat time. So Matt, when you do listen to this, there will be more times, and I'm sure you will be here. So it'll be good. Great. It'll be good.
So yeah, Bill and Andy, thank you very much for having us.
You're welcome.
Great to chat about Heresy on a Saturday night, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you guys. And if you ever want to talk more about like the specific ideas, like what about this kind of mission, or how do you do points for this? Like I was just watching your last Heresy video. You're kind of talking about running a map campaign and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All about that stuff. So yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Great. It seems like we're all like-minded for Heresy, right? It's awesome.
Yeah.
Those connections. And then just transfer ideas across.
Yeah, and we'll have to swap Discords, because we've got the hobby Discord too, the Warrior Lodge one for Sunday nights if you guys ever want to jump on. And feel free to send us an invite if you guys want to just jump on and chat on Thursdays. So I'm usually sometimes playing 30 or 40k, 30k, but there's days I can't, so I'd be down to jump on, chat with you guys about whatever. So
Sure.
maybe even get some interprovincial campaign games where just play games, report, win, loss, whatever, and have it all contribute to the overall story, right? I'd be down for that too. So
yeah, that'd be fun. Okay, cool.
Excellent. Well,
awesome. Well, on that note, thanks again. Okay.
Yeah, no, much appreciated. And thanks for tuning in with us, to all the listeners. And definitely check out the group. They've got some posts of the events. I've seen some, who plays the Death Guard army that I saw a few pictures of. There's Death Guard army on the Instagram there.
His name was Ryan.
Okay.
He didn't make it with 30k after COVID. So, we gained new players. We lost some players, but that's life, right?
Ironically enough, the pandemic killed the Death Guard player.
That's kind of ironic, yeah.
It's the attrition of tabletop.
Yeah,
So it works.
totally.
But definitely check out their Instagram. They've got a lot of cool pictures on there from the events. And we'll definitely be chatting with these guys again soon.
Great. Thanks again, Paul.
Awesome.
Thanks again, Andy.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Catch
Take
ya.
care.
Good night.
Everyone.